G'day guys, JB here coming to you with another divisional preview for the 2019-2020 NBA season. We're done with the East, it's time to move on to the West, and we're going to start with the Northwest Division breakdown. A lot of contenders and a lot of talent floating around in the Northwest Division. And from what I can gather, they need to hurry up and get some playoff success quickly. Pretty much the only division that has not drawn an NBA champion since the team brought in the divisional system and pretty much in the history of the league. So a bit of talent floating around, a lot of potential floating around. Let's get into it and have a look. Going to start with Denver. And to me, Denver was an overachieving team last season. I wouldn't be shocked if they overachieve a little bit again this year. A lot of diversity and parity in the NBA now, and Denver could suffer from that being a bit of a problem because there's now a ton more depth than there has been in the West for a while. And as hard as that seems to say and to think about, there really is most free agents hitting up the Western Conference, or big name free agents hitting up the Western Conference in the offseason. Nonetheless, we'll get into Denver and see how they go. I think the best five they can put on the floor, again, Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Jerami Grant, Paul Millsap and Nikola Jokic are probably going to be their big five, their main five there. Jamal Murray, a capable point and player. Gary Harris as well, both able to score. Jerami Grant, really the offset there. Probably the fifth of five options on that squad, but a capable player himself, can score, can rebound a bit. Paul Millsap can do a bit of everything. Probably the best defender on that team, no doubt about it. And Nikola Jokic, a perennial triple-double contender. A lot of questions to ask about him, though, as well. Coming off the bench, key players there, Will Barton, Malik Beasley, Mason Plumlee, Juan Hernan Gomez, and Michael Porter. So it'll be interesting to see whether they can get him on the floor. A rookie from last season, who didn't get any game time, so technically a rookie now, but I mean, he's been drafted and ready to go, so they're hoping to get him on the floor this year. If they can do that, I mean, he'll add an extra spice to this team. Other players include Monty Morris, Torrey Craig, PJ Dozier, Jared Vanderbilt, Tyler Cook, and Bol Bol has been signed to the end of that Denver roster. And again, there's still a deep roster. They need to step up come the playoffs. I mean, this was the team bundled out in the second round who were convincingly, at one point, they're leading the Western Conference in games played, tailed off towards the end there. And I think it's just a matter of delivering in the crunch. I mean, Nikola Jokic isn't the most proven scorer, and that's what hurts him as well. Now, averaging points and being able to get a bucket are different things. I think a lot of people who understand the game understand that as well. You can't be a guy, okay, you have 20 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. That's all well and good, but if you're looking to hit passes up, they're closing off your avenues, you've got to try and score. If you can't get in and score, not going to work. Fairly slow on the defensive side of it as well, which is why Grant and Millsap usually work overtime. And Murray and Harris, they're capable basket getters as well, but they're the guys who are constantly having to hit the jumper because the man on the team is unable to get it done. So Jokic is going to have to take another step up as well. Again, only young. I think people sort of forget that he's 23 years old. So, still has another couple of years till people can say, well, that's pretty much all he can provide in this league. So they've got a lot of work to put there. But again, a pretty deep roster here for Denver. Will Barton, Malik Beasley, Mason Plumlee, Juan Hernan Gomez, and if he plays, Michael Porter. That's going to be a roster that's going to, run potentially 10 deep on a night, and that is a problem for a coach that you like to have. A rotation that's going to get a lot of players involved in the game. Monty Morris, Torrey Craig, PJ Dozier, and Jared Vanderbilt is going to be interesting additions as well. Tyler Cook on that squad, and Bol Bol. I like to talk about Bol Bol heading in. Again, he's going to probably struggle to get some minutes. Might be a major inclusion. I would be shocked if he is a major inclusion in that roster. I wouldn't be surprised to see him trying to just develop a little bit. But again, plenty of excitement in Denver, in the Mile High City. Again, a deep roster, but they need to perform come crunch time. They need to perform in the playoffs. If they don't do that, expect a second-round loss once again. We move on to Portland. Portland are going to have Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Kent Bazemore, Zach Collins, and Hassan Whiteside, for me, are going to be their starting five. A lot of people are going to ask about Jusuf Nurkic, but the injury he suffered at the end of last year, I'll be shocked to see him play significant minutes early, if at all, during this season. And I think Rodney Hood is probably their next best rotation on there. Anthony Tolliver on that team as well. He provides a little bit of depth, but on top of that, you've got Mario Hezonja, Shkau Libaseri, Anthony Simmons, Gary Trent, Nasser Little, and Jalen Horde. So an okay squad there, so to speak, for Portland. I mean, Lillard and McCollum, you can't back down from guys who love playing the big minutes and the big time. I mean, Lillard sometimes underperforming, but in the last couple of years, he's really started to lift his output in the playoffs and in crunch time. CJ McCollum doing a lot there as well. A lot of people are going to ask about Rodney Hood. Well, this is a guy in Utah who was reaching all-star status with the way he was playing. All of a sudden got traded off, put into a different role that didn't suit his game style around a certain player who allows everyone to mould around him. And of course he dropped off. He lost his flow. But, I mean, essentially the thing is they're big extensions. Big extensions on contracts mean big things have to happen. I mean, they've signed Lillard and McCollum to massive contracts. Wouldn't be surprised if Nurkic looks for a big contract. Bazemore and Bazemore will potentially be looking for a contract as well. And Hassan Whiteside, they've taken on big money for him, and he's going to be interested, no doubt, in staying if there's some success on this team. So they're expecting big things. And again, this is a team that went to the Western Conference Finals, their deepest playoff run since 2000, when they went to the conference finals against the Lakers under Rasheed Wallace, Steve Smith, and guys like Scottie Pippen as well. And again, they're going to want to build on that. I mean, it's going to be hard for them to capitalise on a Western Conference final depending on seeding. I mean, the depth in the West now is, again, unbelievably stacked. So we'll see how they go there. Can't guarantee anything, but it'll be interesting to see how they go. But again, potentially only running with a 7 deep, quality deep rotation. I mean, the stack is right there, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised whether they're just running 6, 7 deep for most of the season. Could get to 8. And again, it's going to be McCollum and Lillard that are going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. Ken Bazemore going to have to chip in. Rodney Hood going to have to chip in, and Hassan Whiteside is going to have to chip in offensively. Defensively, he can block shots, that's great, but he's got to be able to guard that pick and roll and try not to have his guards exposed too much. Trying to double back on D. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes there. Moving over to Utah, and reading these ones in teams I think will or might make the playoffs. So Denver definitely going to make the playoffs. I think Portland can make the playoffs, probably in the lower half of the top 8 in the West. And my other playoff team are the Utah Jazz, essentially developing into a 3-and-D team and trying to do what the Rockets did in order to beat a Golden State, and that's just develop a side that's good on defense, a quality defensive team, but can hit the big threes and hit the big shots. Best 5, I think they're going to put on the floor, and again, things could change up as well depending on how they want to bring their rotations in. Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, Bojan Bogdanovic, who they've acquired, a big shot hitter, and a big-time clutch, wants to be in the clutch there. Bogdanovic brought him over from the Pacers, and Rudy Gobert, the Defensive Player of the Year. Again, Mike Conley, experienced guard, one of the better guards, one of the unluckiest guards not to probably get an all-star selection for most of his career. Capable defender, we know that. Donovan Mitchell, hell of an athlete, a guy who essentially had 25 and 5 last year. He's going to want to really hit that 25-point-per-game mark this season. Joe Ingles, 3-and-D guy, Slow-Mo Joe, Thunder from Down Under, my man, so to speak. I have to get a Joe. Probably should get a Joe Ingles jersey. I do rate him a little bit. Again, a 3-and-D guy. Bojan Bogdanovic, 3-and-D guy. Gobert, the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. We know what comes from there. Coming off the bench, Emmanuel Mudiay, Jeff Green, Dante Exum, and Ed Davis. So a side that can run 9 deep. And again, you can rotate Green into that 4 spot, I feel. But if they're going to want to run a 3-and-D, I wouldn't be surprised to see Bogdanovic really wanting to just stay in the 4 and play small there through to Rudy Gobert. Because again, that's sort of the model that the Warriors took, playing small across the board. And again, you can rotate Jeff Green, as I mentioned. The rest of that side, Tony Bradley, Royce O'Neal, Jorge Niang, Mie Oni, Nigel Williams-Goss, Stanton Kidd, and William Howard, rounding out a 3-and-D team. And this should be a playoff team, there's no doubt about it. And again, they can really push. Bold predictions, seeing Utah finish towards that 4th seed in the West, get that home court advantage, and really want to try and push things. They've got the firepower from deep. They've got some decent defenders on that squad. They've got reasonable rotations on their bench. Even Royce O'Neal can jump into that squad as well to really push the depth. But there's no reason for me they can't make a decent run. Not a championship contender by any means, but certainly a team that can make a champion or a decent playoff run with their three ball, their defensive game. And yeah, really should be pushing at worst for a 7-game Western Conference semi-final matchup there at some point. So my 3 playoff teams here in the Northwest Division, the Denver Nuggets, the Portland Trailblazers, and the Utah Jazz. My 50-50 squad at this point, because I'm sort of looking at it and, okay, there's a couple of players on here that can do some damage, but there's also a lot of players on here that could cause some destruction, and that's the Oklahoma City Thunder. Best 5 as it stands at the moment at the time of recording this video: Chris Paul, Andre Roberson if he's back from injury. Again, that could all be rotated around as well. You never know. Chris Paul, Andre Roberson, Danilo Gallinari, Nerlens Noel, and Steven Adams would be the best 5 you can grab there. And your bench rotations through your Dennis Schroeder, Mike Muscala. You could see Schroeder into that squad too. Pushing him towards the 2 if Robeson's not right. Mike Muscala and Terrence Ferguson completing the major rotations. You've got Shai Gilgeous, Alexander, Abdel Nader, Hamido Diallo, Deontay Burton, Justin Patton, Darius Baisley, Devon Hall, and Lugience Dort rounding out that lineup as well. And a couple of big factors here. Essentially, you've got Chris Paul, an aging veteran, and you just seem to have a lot of players around him, who maybe you're trying to put square blocks into round holes. I don't really see the construction of what's going on here in Oklahoma City. Again, Andre Robeson's an all-team first defender if he's out on the floor. Hasn't been for quite some time. If you get him out there fit, again, all defensive selection on his way. Danilo Gallinari, absolute beast before his knee, starting to get back to that form and was a major factor in the Clippers getting to where they got to last year. Can't rule him out. Nerlens Noel just needs to find his feet, needs to get a grip on it. Steven Adams, one of the best offensive, if not the best offensive rebounder in the NBA. Again, but he's only an 8 rebound a game guy. He needs to hit those double digits. Scoring needs to go up. Dennis Schroeder, had a fair bit of success in Atlanta, not necessarily finding that, in OKC, having played under a Russell Westbrook, but it'll be interesting to see what he can do. Again, an aging veteran in Chris Paul is essentially the leader of this team. So if there is a trade to be done with Miami, as mentioned in my previous divisional video in the Southeast Division of the Eastern Conference, Goran Dragic is going to have to go to the squad. He's going to have to really open things up with his playmaking ability and allowing everyone to get the ball. They're a 50-50 chance for me to make the playoffs simply because it just seems like a lot of square pieces going into round holes. If they can put it together, yeah, I can see them making the playoffs. But the problem is, can Chris Paul allow him to put it together? He's been with too many good squads and not been able to get the job done now. Had a decent squad in New Orleans, couldn't get the job done. Had a decent squad in Los Angeles, couldn't get the job done. And, obviously injury hurts him, but he earned a massive contract there in Houston with an okay to good squad. Just didn't get the job done. So, again, that's 3 big question marks to Chris Paul in his career. And no doubt about it, from an individual standpoint, Chris Paul can play ball. Great defender, one of the better defensive point guards the league's ever seen. One of its better passers. Again, a guy who, in his second, third year in the league, could have won the MVP award. So, capable player, but unfortunately, again, time's not on his side. He's injured. He's got a bad contract for anyone at his age, if you're a general manager and an office standpoint. But again, what can he do? An aging veteran at this point with square blocks trying to go into round holes. We'll see how they go. But I don't really see OKC being a major contender, potential playoff team. But if they slide, I'm not shocked. The final team to bring up here is the Minnesota Timberwolves, who essentially haven't been relevant since Kevin Garnett in 2004. Best lineup I can see them putting on the floor: Jeff Teague, Andrew Wiggins, Robert Covington, Gorgie Dieng, and Karl Anthony Towns, with Shabazz Napier, the 6th man. Outside of that, they really start to fall away. Josh Okogie, Jake Layman, Trevion Graham, Keita Bates-Diop, Noah Vonleh, Tyrone Wallace, Jarrett Culver, Jalen Noel, and Naz Reid. And again, they're essentially 6 players deep at best, and young players who need to take that next step and move forward. Jeff Teague's providing a decent base at the point. Robert Covington's one of the better defenders in the league. But Andrew Wiggins, and Karl Anthony Towns need to step up. They need to man up. They need to go for it. I mean, there were articles being written that when Kobe Bryant retired, he handed over the exciting shooting guard tag and the next big thing tag to Andrew Wiggins. Karl Anthony Towns came in the league with a lot of hoopla around him. Can this guy be a 25, 26 point per game, 12 rebound guy, dominating the paint? And unfortunately, they've just fallen short time and time again. Issues last year, which saw Jimmy Butler question them, their heart and their desire. Derrick Rose is no longer on the team. So again, Jeff Teague and Robert Covington are going to have to do a bit of lifting on this squad. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Karl Anthony Towns can go for 25 and 10. I think Andrew Wiggins can be a consistent 25, 5 and 5 guy. Total points or total minutes. I can't fault Wiggins there, but, there needs to be some heart and desire from these guys. And again, they're not going to be working with much, so the workload has fallen on their shoulders totally. They need to get the job done and sort something out. How they go about that and how they go, I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see how they go. And I think they're the only certainties in the Northwest Division to not want to make the playoffs or can't make the playoffs, in my opinion. They run 6 deep at best and not a great 6 deep. They've got no one that wants to step up. A couple of defenders, but really a reasonably underwhelming spot outside of their top 6. Noah Vonleh might be able to step up and do a bit there as well, but outside of that, it's really a bit of a head scratch. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes on there. Again, 6 players at best with young players who just need to step up and start getting the job done. Otherwise, Minnesota, once again, going to have a pretty underwhelming season for 2019-2020. So to recap, I see Denver, Portland and Utah going through to the playoffs this year. I don't think there's a question about those 3. OKC, the big 50-50. Goran Dragic probably relieves OKC's pressure a little bit and probably gets their flow going just with the more European flow of play they'll have there with Gallinari and Schroeder, and then Dragic, obviously, I think they'd click really well. I think I could see them making the playoffs there and maybe even bring Portland into question there just with how they could gel as a team. And Minnesota, I just don't see them doing a thing. So that will do for the Northwest Division preview and breakdown heading into the 2019-2020 season. Thank you very much for tuning in to JB's NBA. Hit me up, JB's NBA on Facebook. Like, comment, share the video, share your thoughts and stuff like that. Again, great to get some eyes on the product as well. Hit me up on Twitter, Justin_G_Bryan, always talking hoops over there. On YouTube, Justin_G_Bryan, got plenty on over there as well. All my videos sort of get posted at the same time. So if you missed one on Facebook, check it out on YouTube. I'll be doing a bit of cross-promotion across all of that as well. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. That's been another divisional breakdown heading into the Pacific Division next here on Facebook and YouTube. See how we go in California. A lot of talent floating around there, and we'll be able to preview that very soon. Anyway, guys, I'm out.